Om Swastiastu. Hello everyone, my name is Anabubeda Bundaveda. I'm from class 11 A3. My roll number is 1. Today I will talk about my essay, which is titled Why is Nuclear Anxiety No Longer Relevant? So, what is nuclear? Nuclear is a reaction process in which there is two types of them: nuclear fusion and nuclear fission. Nuclear fusion generates energy from combining two stuff, and nuclear fission generates energy from splitting atoms. The one that we are going to talk about is nuclear fission. So nuclear fission generates energy from splitting two stuff. What stuff is being split up? The stuff that is being split up is uranium-235 being split up by a neutron. Neutron so fast it reaches the speed of light. This will split the uranium into smaller radioactive isotopes. Now, why do people afraid of nuclear? So it goes down to history. Well, as we know, nuclear bombs are weapons of mass destruction. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they destroyed cities, and in several test sites, like in Bikini Atoll, they've shown their true weapons of mass destruction characteristics. And followed by that, there is also nuclear accidents like that of Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island, as well as Fukushima Daiichi. So nuclear bomb and nuclear reactor are somewhat called similar because they do nuclear reaction. Well, actually, they don't. Nuclear bombs, they generate reaction at an uncontrollable amount, while nuclear reactor, the reaction is far more controlled. This is why they don't produce explosion like that of nuclear bomb or hydrogen bomb. But let's go to some of the issue that we are currently facing of, and that is energy transition as well as surge in energy demand. So we all know that fossil fuel generates greenhouse gas, and that greenhouse gases are harming our life by making the atmosphere a lot hotter. And we are trying to avoid using fossil fuel, and we are transitioning towards renewable energy. The problem is renewable energy produces very low electricity. They are conditional. They cannot produce electricity at maximum capacity all the time. Meanwhile, energy demand surges because of use of AI. AI consumes a lot of our electricity. We are sharing it with them, and they are taking a lot of energy for our daily uses, like trying to talk with ChatGPT. It will kind of cost you some amount of that electricity. So if fossil fuel is too harmful for the environment and renewable energy kind of not enough for us, that means nuclear is the solution. This is because nuclear doesn't produce greenhouse gas emission, and it can be used all the time. But the problem is nuclear kind of produces a waste, nuclear waste. This waste is made of plutonium. The, the problem is we don't know how to recycle it, even though it has very great energy potential. So many nations just dug a tunnel underground and put plutonium waste and just cover it up because they don't know how to use it. However, there are efforts made by teams of scientists and they are trying to make use of this plutonium like of that in France. France is the only nation right now that has a nuclear waste recycling facility. They make something called MOX fuel, which stands for mixed oxide fuel, basically plutonium mixed with oxide, and these fuel are used in fast breeder reactor. Fast breeder reactor that are specialized in fast moving neutron. So neutron in these fuel are moving faster than that of uranium fuel. But let's talk about the safetiness of nuclear reactor. So nuclear reactor are a lot more safer. We are now at the fourth generation nuclear reactor. Chernobyl's RBMK reactor are at the second generation, and the safetiness gap between these Gen 2 and Gen 4 are very, very different. Gen 4 are a lot safer. They have a much more automated safety requirements that gives them ability to avoid any sort of meltdown, and structurally nuclear power plant have been standardized to withstand anything from drones attack like that in Russia, or a drone attack made by Russia in Ukraine. So the nuclear power plant today is basically much safer. You won't expect another Chernobyl to happen, and you won't expect another earthquake to cause another Fukushima Daiichi to happen. Now, our country, Indonesia, have some potential to use its abundance of nuclear resources to kind of support its energy needs. If we have a nuclear reactor right now, then the fuel would be a lot more cheaper because we can extract it from inside our border. And let's talk about the main cons of nuclear power. Nuclear power plants, they are extremely expensive and long to build. Compare it to a gas power plant. Nuclear power plant could possibly take 2 times the amount of time needed to make a gas power plant, and a lot longer to get a return on investment, even though nuclear power plant return on investments are much larger than that of a gas power plant. This is because that nuclear fuel are much smaller, but also much energy dense. Much smaller means that you can spend less money on transportation of the fuel, and more energy dense means that you can only refuel it once, but you can also use it multiple times, turn it on and off for several days, even months. Now, compare that to gas power plant, it requires a lot more energy. It needs a constant supply of energy, maybe for days, even to actually support the need. And you also need to spend a lot more on transportation. Gas and coal, they need huge volume to produce the exact amount of electricity to keep up with demand of energy needs. So what are the conclusion? Well, I think our fear towards nuclear energy, you know, like waking up in the morning knowing that there's no hot water and you kind of have to bath yourself with cold water. I think it's time to let go of that fear. We know that we need energy, we are in a constraint, so we should be more supportive towards this implementation of nuclear energy. And as a solution from me, I think we should make a sovereign wealth fund like that of Danantara. This sovereign wealth fund will use the money made from state-owned company that is running on fossil fuel industry like Pertamina and Bukit Asam, the company that work in petrochemical and coal industry. Then the money will be reinvested in the stock market, the commodity market, and bonds. And then this sovereign wealth fund, oh yeah, it will be called Dana PIN. Dana PIN means in Indonesia Dana Nasional untuk Pembangunan Infrastruktur Energi Nuklir, or in English National Fund for Nuclear Energy Infrastructure Development. So Dana PIN will use the money made from the reinvestment to make nuclear facility, not just like nuclear power plant, but also nuclear enrichment facility and nuclear waste recycling facility. However, we also don't have yet the capacity to actually or make one. We don't have the talent to make one, so we should urge a cooperation with institutions from outside of the country, nations, advanced economies, so that they can develop our human resource so that we can exactly fulfill what we need. And nuclear energy is a very sensitive topic, so I think we should take a neutral stance as for the government in terms of geopolitics. So we should avoid conflicts, but we also want to maintain peace as well. As well, for the accountability of this new sovereign wealth fund, as many of the government projects we've seen, they have always suffered from corruption, intransparency. I think this new sovereign wealth fund should be held accountable by non-government organization, that is to keep it accountable, to track, to audit its financial activity, and to keep it sustainable according to SDGs goals and, or the Sustainable Development Goals. And I guess that is from me. To if the audience right now have some critics or suggestions about my essay, I think it would be helpful if you guys can comment on my video, as it will help to develop a much more creative and realistic solution for my essay, as well as creating a possible for implementation of nuclear energy if can in the future. So I guess that is for today. I'm Veda. Thank you for watching. I'll close with Parama Santi. Om Santi Santi Santi.